Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back for a Thursday edition of the Steel City Sports Report, where we talk everything Steelers, Penguins, and Pirates. I am your host, Brady Vini. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Back here again, getting closer to the end of the week here. Today, more Pittsburgh sports news to talk about regarding all three of our beloved Pittsburgh professional sports teams. Of course, here in a few moments, we will start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Mike McCarthy coaching staff, day by day, only continues to grow. Some more hires being confirmed today by local reporters, who all those hires are, amidst a hypothetical that we are going to do today. We know that this McCarthy coaching staff, we talked about it yesterday, it is going to probably be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But of course, like some other things in life, bigger doesn't always mean better. So a hypothetical we are going to go through to start off the show today. We will go coach by coach, position group by position group, coordinator by coordinator, and decide, is this new Steelers coaching staff that Mike McCarthy is building, is it better than the group that they are replacing, the previous coaching staff under head coach Mike Tomlin? I think that's a fun hypothetical for us to go through. Who's better, who's worse, who is pretty much the same. If it's a lateral move, we will discuss that. After that, we will get back into some baseball talk about our Pittsburgh Pirates, and they surprised me yesterday, the Pittsburgh Pirates. Time and time again, for the most part this offseason, the Pittsburgh Pirates have disappointed us pretty good when it comes to being rumored to be in on high-profile free agents and then falling short, being the bridesmaid, never the bride. The Pirates yesterday, they, in record time, had a bridesmaid, not the bride moment, missing out on a top free agent that they were aggressively, I'll put this in air quotations here, aggressively pursuing for all of 8 or 9 hours. That whole situation and how it came to a quick end, we will discuss. After that, we will get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news to wrap up the night. A little bit of news on the Pittsburgh Penguins. They here in about an hour and a half are going to drop the puck in their final game before the Winter Olympic break. They are up in Buffalo, New York tonight to take on the surging Sabres. So hopefully the Penguins, amidst some adversity, we are going to get into their whole situation. They are going through a ton of adversity right now. The Olympic break couldn't come at a better time for the Pens. What they're going through, can they get a win tonight? We'll discuss, among many other things, to wrap up the show, because we got the Pens to watch tonight. Also, the Hall of Fame, some news on the Pro Football Hall of Fame, who's going to get inducted into that. We will discuss later on in the show as well. Before we officially get things kicked off here on this Thursday night, of course, if you are new here, welcome to the Steel City Sports Report. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button if you have not done so already, and turn on notifications so that you never miss a video or live stream here on the channel. Again, also, I would appreciate it if you liked this live stream, shared this live stream, and in the comments section, any thoughts, questions, opinions that you have on anything related to Pittsburgh sports, by all means, get those in there and we can discuss that way. I enjoy interacting with you fine folks through the comments section. Also, go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and tune back in a little bit later on tonight for a new edition of SCSR 60. With that, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, per usual, most of the time here on the channel, we are going to kick off talking about Pittsburgh Steelers football. More discussions about this large coaching staff that Mike McCarthy is building himself here in Pittsburgh. We talked about it in depth. Majority of the hires yesterday seems to be bringing in a steady stream of guys he's worked with in the past, whether that was in Dallas or in Green Bay. He's added a few coaches with Pittsburgh connections, just like himself. Brought in a few young up-and-coming coaches, a few inexperienced coaches to learn under the experienced ones he's bringing in. Also, altogether, I'd say give it a B so far for McCarthy's hire, and the staff he's bringing in seems to be bringing in some good coaches. Some other coaches I'm a little wait and see on with that approach. Today, McCarthy adding even more coaches to the staff. This one here was the first coaching hire announced today. According to reports from Alan Saunders and other local Pittsburgh Steelers beat writers, the Steelers are hiring Texas Tech outside linebackers coach CJ Ayu. So again, the Steelers going to the college ranks here to add a coach to their staff. Ayu, I mean, outside linebackers coach, Texas Tech. I'm going to go with a overall view of this. I'm not going to act like I know everything about this coach or the work he has done at Texas Tech. I do know Texas Tech had a damn good year in college football this season, and a big reason why they had a good season, their outstanding defense. They got a guy, David Bailey, I believe, one of their outside linebacker edge rusher types, who is going to be a first-round pick. Another guy who could be a first-round pick linebacker, Chris Rodriguez. He's more of an interior guy, but still a phenomenal player that I'm sure worked in some way, shape, or form with David Bailey. This guy here, from all reports out there from the Nick Farabaugh and Alan Saunders of the world, a football junkie, kind of like another young guy that the Steelers brought in the other day, offensive coordinator, I believe, Angelichio. He a football junkie. This guy just the same way, lives, breathes, eats, and sleeps football there. So I bet you he is going to bring a ton of energy to that Steelers coaching staff. I believe he will be an outside linebackers coach. This is interesting because yesterday we thought we had a hire for the Steelers OLB coach position. It was thought to be Montana State defensive coordinator Sean Howe. He, according to reports yesterday, was being hired as outside linebackers coach. Now they pivot and say CJ Ayu is the outside linebackers coach. Is one coming over the other? Are they both going to be here and one's going to be an assistant? Are they going to be a partnership here tackling this veteran outside linebacker group? We shall see. Interesting decision, though, whether it's one or the other or both for Mike McCarthy. I said it yesterday about Sean Howe. Same thing would apply to CJ Ayu, is that you're bringing in a first-time NFL coach. Well, in Ayu's case, I think he might have worked under McCarthy before. I'm not sure. But regardless, you're bringing in a very inexperienced coach to be coaching a group that has TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. I'll put Nick Herbig, even though he hasn't reached a second contract yet, in the veteran category. Guys who have been there, done that in the league, wondering how that sort of dynamic is going to work. The young and inexperienced coach being the guy needing to lead and direct and coach and train these experienced guys. So that is an interesting situation developing at outside linebacker coach today for the Steelers. A few other hires for the Steelers today. They added, I believe, a few guys to their strength and conditioning staff. You have Abe Muneer, who I believe is from San Jose State. He was their head athletic trainer. He is going to be the new Steelers athletic trainer among a few others here. There's a few other coaches here that I am all of a sudden missing off my list here. You've also got this gentleman here, TCU assistant linebackers coach Eric Simonelli. He worked under McCarthy in Green Bay as a quality control coach. He is going to pick up an offensive quality coach control role here with the Steelers. And the most recent hire announced today for the Steelers, Darius Swinton II. He is going to be an assistant special teams coach, teaming up with Danny Crossman, the Steelers' new special teams coordinator. Swinton, 40 years old, lengthy NFL resume, played for a bunch of teams and coached for teams as well. St. Louis Rams, Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos, Chicago, San Francisco, Detroit, Arizona. The list goes on and on and on for him. So maybe still 40 years old, young in his coaching career, but very experienced, traveling all around the country for football. And with those hires, not going to get too much more into depth on those. These just assistants getting thrown in there under the coaches that they have already brought in. I did want to do this hypothetical here today on your screen right now. Those of you watching at home, I have the Steelers, for the most part, the main coaches, or the most significant coaches that they have brought in so far under Mike McCarthy. And I wanted to do a bit of a hypothetical here. Which coaching staff would you prefer? And as we go along with this exercise here, you guys in the comment section, as I'm talking through it myself, you can chime in if you like a new coach over a former coach, a former over a new coach. Just thought that this would be something fun to do here tonight. Of course, not going to do Mike McCarthy or Mike Tomlin. I mean, we're just going to do strictly the staffs they have built here. Not going to compare, one Hall of Fame coach and his resume to most likely another Hall of Fame coach and his resume here. With that, let's start off here with the three big coordinators, of course. Offensive coordinator, Brian Angelicchio. He is replacing, of course, Arthur Smith. Smith, I mean, came in here, 3 years ago? Did Arthur Smith had a low bar as you could possibly have to clear in terms of being a better coordinator than Matt Canada. I think we can agree that to an extent, Arthur Smith was a much better coordinator than Matt Canada. But then we saw, late 2 years ago, and then, of course, throughout this season, that the Arthur Smith playbook and scheme was starting to deteriorate live and in living color. So Smith, bit of a rocky, to say the least, that's putting it lightly, ending to his tenure here in Pittsburgh. You bring in a first-time coordinator, Brian Angelicchio. We talked about him yesterday. He comes from the Kevin O'Connell tree up there in Minnesota, was their passing game coordinator there for a year, their tight ends coach other times, was said to be a massive component of their staff up there, and someone that the Vikings organization did not want to lose. So comparing what Arthur Smith did, it's kind of hard comparing what he did to what we think Brian Angelicchio is going to do here. It's tough to say. And also it'll be even harder to evaluate how Angelicchio does, because Mike McCarthy is going to be the one calling plays here. So right now, Angelicchio, I believe, does have much more upside and a more modern day football approach than Arthur Smith has. But Arthur Smith was just so terrible at play calling and personnel deployment, things like that, that even though he has yet to coordinate one game as the Pittsburgh Steelers OC, I am going to give Angelicchio the advantage here. I put him over Arthur Smith. Seems like even though he will not be calling plays here, just the stuff that he is going to design up, blending what he is going to bring from Minnesota with what Mike McCarthy is going to want here. I think that will be a much more productive offense, regardless of personnel, who's the quarterback and who's out there on the field. I just think the floor immediately of a Brian Angelicchio and Mike McCarthy offense exceeds that of an Arthur Smith, and the possibility of the ceiling being higher than an Arthur Smith offense is immense. So I'll go with Angelicchio, give him the one up here against Arthur Smith. Moving over to defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham. He comes in from Las Vegas, I should say. He spent 4 years there. We went over it yesterday. He's coached there. This will be his fourth team in 7 years. He is replacing Terrell Austin. Patrick Graham, we went over his scoring defense and, the terrible defenses that he's coached. Most of those defenses, he was given some sketchy casts of characters to coach. But you got also Terrell Austin. He was in the Brian Angelicchio position, where you're the coordinator, but you're the one that isn't calling plays half the time. So this one here, kind of tough to decipher. I do want to call it a wash, say that these guys are equal, Patrick Graham and Terrell Lawson. But another thing that I keep coming back to is that Angelichio, despite the team record, for stretches over the past few seasons, that Raiders defense was good, and they had Max Crosby. That Raiders defense did do a decent job sometimes, and if we were to give the keys to the kingdom to a Terrell Lawson here with a much better cast of characters, we did not see rarely we saw spurts of success. So I think Patrick Graham, with a lesser crop of talent, was able to get just a little bit more out of his defense than what Terrell Lawson was able to do with a much better crew. Cam Hayward, TJ Watt for a stretch there, Minka Fitzpatrick, other times Jalen Ramsey and such. So I think giving our discussions here and our comparisons between both Arthur Smith and Brian Angelichio and Patrick Graham and Terrell Lawson, I am going to give the new guy, Patrick Graham, a slight victory here by the narrowest of margins. He is going to have day one the best defensive grouping that he has ever coached, and hopefully him being able to every once in a while make chicken salad out of chicken crap there in Vegas. Hopefully he's able to produce a better dish here in Pittsburgh this time. So Graham, he is easily, or not easily, but by thin margins, a better coordinator and a better coach than Terrell Lawson. Special teams coordinator, Danny Crossman, you see there, he's the new special teams head coordinator. He replacing Danny Smith. I think this one's pretty easy. You got to go to the legend, Mr. Bubblegum Chewer himself, Danny Smith. He is going to take home the victory in this one. The Steelers special teams unit over the past few seasons, was it the most flashy unit? Did they have a ton of kick and punt returns for touchdowns? No, we would have loved to see more of that with, the grouping that Danny Smith was given. But still, Crossman coming in from Miami was let go of that for most of the year. Wretched Miami squad, their special teams units haven't been anything worth noting in quite some time. So Smith, he is going to get the win here over Danny Crossman. On to some positional coaches here. I guess we'll start at the top of this list that you see here and work our way down. Senior offensive assistant Frank Signetti. I'm not going to count him in this exercise right now. We'll strictly stick to positional coaches. Steelers, I don't think, had a senior offensive assistant. Maybe Mike Sullivan, back when he was here, was in that role, but was not on the coaching staff last year. Tom Arth was here last year. He will be retained on Mike McCarthy's staff. That is a wash. Running backs coach. This is where I have the old Mike Tomlin coaching staff tying things up. Ramon Chinyoung Sr., he is going to be the new running backs coach, replacing Eddie Faulkner. I give this a win for Eddie Faulkner, not just because he got the most out of Kenneth Gainwell this past season. He also coached up Jaylen Warren for most of his development, if not all of it. Najee Harris, yes, bust of a first-round pick, but seeing what Najee did here compared to what he did before he got injured out in L.A., that was a damn near night and day difference. There's some other guys that Eddie Faulkner has done extremely well with along the way. And let's not forget, for a time, Faulkner was the offensive play caller, I believe. I don't think he was the offensive coordinator, but he was the offensive play caller there back, 3 seasons ago when Mason Rudolph was leading the Steelers out of the doldrums of a 500 season to a playoff berth. So Eddie Faulkner, all pluses in that category. Again, hate that he is now going to Baltimore to coach up the Ravens. Another reason why Faulkner is getting the win here. Ramon Chinyoung Sr., talked about it yesterday, coming in here from a Dallas coaching staff with Mike McCarthy as an assistant offensive line coach. Now he's going to go from assistant O-line coach to running backs coach. Not sure what experience he has in the past with running backs, but just that gray area there of you got this guy who specialized in coaching up one side of the ball, now coaching another positional group. A little bit too much of an unknown right there for me to have Chin Young in competition right here. So Ramon Chin Young Sr. and Eddie Faulkner. Faulkner gets the win. That leaves us so far at 2 wins for the new coaching staff, 2 wins for the old, and 1 washout. I'm trying, when there is a difference in coaches from last year to this year, trying to, when it's 2 different coaches, not make it a washout. But I'm going to cheat a tiny bit here with this next one. This next group, I'm giving a bit of a wash here and saying that they are pretty much the exact same thing. Wide receiver coach, Adam Henry, coming in from Buffalo. He replaces Zach Azzani. And these guys, similar in my eyes. I mean, they were given mediocre wide receiver rooms, had to try to make the best with what they've had in wide receivers where they were. The wide receiver rooms that they coached last year underachieved significantly. Zach Azzani, he was given one big racehorse in DK Metcalf, and then behind Metcalf, Calvin Austin was the next closest guy. And by the end of the year, you had to replace busts like Roman Wilson with veterans you're plucking off the scrap heap is Adam Thielen and Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So wide receiver room was just an absolute disaster last year. Same thing could be set up in Buffalo. I mean, yeah, Khalil Shakir, he's a nice wide out. They brought in a couple of free agent guys like Josh Palmer and Mac Hollins up there in Western New York. And then still, they too had a young underachieving guy like what we had with Roman Wilson to a much less dire extent. Keon Coleman, just a underwhelming year for him up there in Buffalo, and he's getting thrown under the bus by the owner, for God's sake, since they fired their head coach, Sean McDermott. So I'm going to go with a bit of a wash here. I do, if I was forced to project, who would be a better wide receiver coach this year, I would have to go with Henry, but slightly because he has had a reputation of coaching outstanding wide receivers in the past. CeeDee Lamb, Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham Jr., I believe Amari Cooper there at some point. But right now, just strictly going off of a recency bias, they are the same thing in my book. Jekyll is Hyde, Hyde is Jekyll between Adam Henry and Zach Azzani. So I'm going to put that in the tie category. Offensive line coach, an assistant offensive line coach. We're going to shave off assistant offensive line coach Jari Evans here. There will be more talk about him later on in the show, but strictly going with the head honchos of the offensive line coaches. This one here, it feels like it should be easy, but I do have a tiny bit of pause. We go from James Campen, longtime NFL coach and former player. He replacing Pat Meyer. Campen has coached a ton of offensive linemen throughout the years, including maybe even his assistant, Jari Evans. I'm not sure if there was any crossover between the two in Green Bay, but Campen, very experienced coach, I believe has done a nice job coaching up offensive linemen of the past when he's needed to protect Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. I am going to give him a win. It feels like, just looking at the resume of Campen, that it should be a slam dunk. He's better than Pat Meyer, but the development last year of Zach Frazier, Troy Fautanu, Mason McCormick, before he got that neck injury, Broderick Jones started to play a little bit better. I will give Pat Meyer his flowers there. Hopefully James Campen now can pick up where Myers left off there in the young group's development and take them to the next level. But when it comes to comparing Pat Meyer and Campen, always come back to the same thing I've said about Myers. Yes, offensive line for the Steelers last year. They had sack issues, but you saw strides and you saw glimpses of what this offensive line, this young offensive line can be. But 5 years, Pat Meyer, I believe, was on the job as Steelers offensive line coach. 4 of those were terrible, and the one good one that he had, I don't think is going to be. I don't think is going to, wash out the first 4 bad years. So James Campen, he is going to take home the victory for the new coaching staff there. Moving over to defense, we got defensive line coach, inside linebackers coach, outside linebackers coach, and then secondary coach. We'll go with a secondary coach here because I believe Steelers didn't have any sort of clear definition between DB's coach and secondary coach last year. Let's start on the D-line. Domata Peko, former Cincinnati Bengal, tormented the Steelers for years during my upbringing. He replacing a very well-respected D-line coach in Carl Dunbar, more news on him coming up a little bit later on in the show. He found new work, I believe, a few days ago. We'll discuss that. But Peko, guy, will say some positive things here. A guy who, if you're going to bring in a dude to coach up the D-line, you need a guy that knows what AFC North football is all about and how it is most years won and lost by trench warfare, and how your D-line gets out after the quarterback. If they're going to bring in a coach to coach up this D-line, it's going to be someone that needs to know AFC North football. Peko going up against the Steelers as a player for years, that is a nice quality to get from him. He is coming from the college world, another one of those full of coaches that Mike McCarthy is bringing in from college. Peko is coaching at Colorado last year. But besides him being a guy who knows what Steelers football and what AFC North football is all about, again, first-time head coach, not sure how things are going to go there, and he is replacing what I think some Steelers players would call a legend in that coaching staff. Carl Dunbar, I believe 13 years he was on staff with the Steelers. Maybe I'm getting him confused with Danny Smith. I am not sure, but a dude who was here, when Cam Hayward started out, and also has coached up some outstanding D-lines for this Steelers team. Dunbar getting the likes of Stephon Tuitt, Javon Hargrave, also, more recently thinking of guys like Derek Harmon. He had an outstanding rookie season. I'm sure Dunbar was able to polish up that golden egg a little bit. Keanu Benton, still inconsistent, but took a step showing that he can at least be a serviceable defensive tackle when he plays well. Just so many good to great defensive linemen Dunbar has coached for the Steelers over his tenureship. Just his resume, I think, is going to give him the win here. And I mean, yeah, run defense was an issue last year for the Steelers defensive line, but they still were getting after the quarterback pretty well, in my opinion. So Dunbar, just from pass rush standpoint, run defense, hopefully Peko works on that a bunch. But seeing what all he did here in Pittsburgh and where he left off with this team being able to get after the quarterback, I'm giving Dunbar the victory there. Peko, like the hire, first-time head coach, though, that's a little worrying. Also, how is he going to be a developer with a young guy like Harmon and Y.A. Black? I mean, Cam Hayward, he's not going to need to coach up one bit, but these guys still on the D-line that are pretty young, how Peko is going to coach them up, that is going to be hard for me to say. So put another win in the old Steelers head coaching category, or old coaching staff category for them. Inside linebackers coach, that is a wash. Going to go with Scott McCurley there, inside linebackers coach last year. Mike McCarthy retains him, coached together. McCurley did with McCarthy in Dallas a few years ago. Outside linebackers coach. This one here, it's going to be pretty easy. Going to go with Denzel Martin. You got two guys coming from the college world, Sean Howe, and I assume CJ Ayu. One of those two guys, if not both, they are going to be coming to the Steelers coaching staff from the college world. College and coaching college outside linebackers compared to coaching guys in the big leagues. It's a different animal in the NFL, I should say. And Denzel Martin, was he a guy that, we're going to say developed TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith and Nick Herbig? I don't think he's going to get too much credit for that. I think it's just the star power that the Steelers have that gets recognized there. But still, a guy that coached, that is coaching and got solid production most years from Watt and Highsmith. Herbig also done a good job getting Jack Sawyer acclimated to NFL game speed this past year. Denzel Martin's going to take home the win there. Hopefully Sean Howe and CJ Ayu together, if they are on the same staff together, hopefully they are able to continue this stretch of excellent play from the edge rusher spot for the Steeler. Last coach that I want to talk about here, you got defensive backs coach, secondary coach, whatever you want to label it. We go from Jared Alexander to a new cast of characters. It was thought initially to still be Gerald Alexander here, but he left to go coach the Minnesota Vikings secondary and be their defensive pass game coordinator. Now filling in for him, you got two coaches here, Jason Simmons and Joe Witt Jr. This may be the toughest comparison that I make here, to be honest. You go from Gerald Alexander, just going off of what he did last year, secondary for the Steelers. They have many breakdown and coverages. Yes, I think scheme had a big part to do with that, but did you see leaps taken by Joey Porter Jr., by Brandon Eccles, who you brought in as a free agent, by James Pierre, who was nothing but a special teams guy before last season? Yes, and Alexander, I think, played a big role in that. Now you look, Joey Jr., shut down island corner most games, put him on the other team's number one and forget about the rest. Eccles playing nickel, playing outside, sort of a hybrid guy there, exceeded any expectations you had from him as a free agent. If it weren't for Kenneth Gainwell being team MVP, you could make an argument that Brandon Eccles was the best free agent acquisition that the Steelers had last offseason. And then few got James Pierre, who was looking like a guy that was on the fringe, like the 53rd man on the 53-man roster. You turn James Pierre, who is nothing but a special teamer, into a damn near 1A, 1B opposite Joey Porter Jr. That is impressive stuff there from Gerald Alexander, but I don't want to hype him up and then completely, crap on the new guys here. Jason Simmons, again, another guy like DeMonte Pecco, knows what Steelers and AFC North football is all about, played for the Steelers, has also made a few stops in his coaching career. He now comes in to be the DB's coach, and excited to see what we get from a Jason Simmons. Also excited to see what we get from a Joe Witt Jr. We talked about it yesterday. I don't have the exact stat popped up in front of me here, but when Joe Witt Jr., when he was, I believe, on McCarthy's staff back from 2009 to 2017, through 2017, the Packers secondary had like over 170 interceptions in that time. Crazy production. And Witt and Simmons, these two guys teaming up together, if they are able to turn this secondary into a ball hawking secondary once again, then that will be a scary blend. This new group of guys with the staff or the roster that they are inheriting here. So it makes it tough for me to decide between Gerald Alexander and and these new guys? Do you go with the guy that got the secondary to develop and be as good as they were last year? Or do you take the new guys that have had a history and resume of their secondaries being produceful? It's hard for me to say, but call me crazy. And also, just because I think these coaching staffs are similar and not much of an upgrade here, I'm going to go with the new guys. Joe Witt Jr., Jason Simmons. Yes, Gerald Alexander was able to unlock some guys in that secondary, but Witt, Simmons, think that they are going to be able to, with the right other moves, to go in this offseason. What do you do with Jalen Ramsey? Who do you pick up in the draft and free agency? I think the secondary for the Steelers is going to be much more improved heading into next season. And with that, the final tally here, I believe 4 wins for the new coaching staff, 4 for the old coaching staff, 3 ties. And it's the wide receiver coaches. I think those are a cancel out. Also, you cancel out the quarterback and linebackers coach because they are the same. The Steelers, 2 new coordinators, Patrick Graham and Brian Angelicchio. They get wins, as do the new offensive line coach and the new secondary coaches. But the old coaching staff, you have wins for Eddie Faulkner, the old running backs coach, Carl Dunbar, the old D-line coach, Denzel Martin, the old outside linebackers coach, and there was one more win. Danny Smith, special teams coordinator. So all in all, just evaluating all the hires that the Steelers have made so far this season, it is super hard to say if one group is above the other. There are some new pieces, like I said before, that Mike McCarthy has brought in that I like, but some other guys that have a big shoes to fill, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Hopefully, some of these guys surprise me. Hopefully, Damone Pecco, being experienced in AFC North ball, he's able to teach up the young D-line still the right way. Hopefully, the 2 guys coming in from college to coach outside linebacker, they don't stunt the development of a Jack Sawyer or rub off any of the shine of what Nick Herbig's been doing. So we'll see with the Steelers coaching staff here as it continues to grow every day. But right now, overall, just like Mike McCarthy is the offensive version of Mike Tomlin, not too many upgrades, I should say, from a coaching positional coach position, but from coordinators at least. I think those are going to be the big ones. Those are better already here for the Steelers. So interested to hear what you guys think. We go to the comment section now before we switch up gears to our second topic of the night here in a moment. We got Vegas TJG here in the comments. Need that hat. My plates are Blitzburg. Appreciate that you like the hat there, Vegas. Concepts in here. Welcome, Concepts. What's going on? Should be an interesting off season for sure. Already has been from the McCarthy hire to his coaching staff being filled out over the last week and change, and it's not stopping. More hires today. Wouldn't be shocked if before we end the live stream tonight, if I go check on the Twitter X timeline and see, oh, hey, Steelers are hiring this guy to be a defensive or assistant of some way, shape, or form. So it will be the biggest coaching staff in Steelers history, I believe, which I give McCarthy massive props there. Sounds like the Steelers are going to be getting more and more voices and ideas in the building than before, which that'll be a big check mark above Mike Tomlin's previous coaching staffs, where it was instead of one guy doing 3 tasks, you got maybe 1 or 2 guys doing 1 tasks, which I'm all here for. Another comment here from Concepts. People really hated Meyer, even though it seems like he was a way better coach than most give him credit for. Again, I will give him his flowers. I'll hold the door open for him on his way out, give him a pat on the back. Did last season, we saw Zach Frazier cement himself even more as the Steelers' long-term center. I don't know where some of his criticism comes from, but I thought Troy Fautanu had a fantastic year at right tackle, despite, the whole line just completely sucking ass in that Houston Texans playoff game here. Mason McCormick, who would have thought, second-year guy, fifth-round pick out of North Dakota State. Didn't think he was going to be as good as he is this soon. And then Broderick Jones, like I said, up and down year last year and a prove-it year because his fifth-year option, a decision needs to be made about that, but thought he was trending up more than he was trending down before his neck injury. And another prop that I wanted to give to Pat Meyer. You had Broderick Jones go down, and then not long after that, Andres Pete, he went down with an injury. I'll give him credit for Dylan Cook, who came in there, your fourth-string left tackle, goes in there and plays some above and beyond four-string level football for you at your most important position on the offensive line. That's a testament to Meyer and Cook being on roster, a practice squatter. Meyer making sure he was ready to go and keeping him ready just in case a situation like that happened. And look, it did. And Dylan Cook played all right until, like I said, that playoff game, which everyone played terrible. So I will give, again, Myers his credit for the steps that some of these young offensive linemen took last year. But before that, you had some poor drafting. Don't get me wrong, some poor talent acquisition, but could have done better with what he had. Meyer did back, in the Kenny Pickett dog days and the Russell Wilson, Justin Fields year. I think even the final year of Big Ben. So, 4 years compared to the one good. I'm going to lean more towards the bad 4 years than the one good, even though the one good did come at the end. Freight Train here. Welcome, Freight Train. I think the staff is overall better and more. We have more coaches after reducing the amount that the head coach was being paid. That is true. I'm not sure. I don't think we've gotten any sort of salary on what Mike McCarthy is going to get paid. I assume, even though he is a very experienced head coach, 62 years old, I'm sure McCarthy will be paid above, but still in the ballpark of what other coaches this coaching cycle are getting paid. Did get a 5-year deal, which is what seems like every other head coaching hire is getting. But Tomlin was making $19 million, damn near $20 million to one guy, and then that leaves you scarce with money to give to your coordinators and your positional coaches. Now that McCarthy is here, you got to assume that's more like what Freight Train's saying, 6 to 10 million. I'm leaning more towards 10. Let's just say hypothetically it is 10. That all of a sudden is $9 more million that you can give out to your coaching staff. And did the Steelers go out and, hire a big wig coordinator like a Jim Schwartz or I think even though this guy would have been a first-time coordinator, a Nate Shieldhouse, did they do that and, give like 4 of that $9 million to a coordinator? No. But did they make sure, hey, let's make sure we always have someone here to take care of any task at a given moment. Let's make sure we have all of our bases covered, that we're not stretching ourselves too thin here. They did do that. Quantity over quality. I will, in the time being, I want to subject myself to a change in this opinion. But right now, having quantity over quality, I will take that a little bit, just because it's been, no quantity and no quality here for the Steelers for quite some time. So I do like that the coaching staff is bigger. That is for sure there. Freight Train. My dad here, hope this staff uses Muth in the middle of the field more than the last staff. I do think Muth is going to be a very happy camper because few things. One, McCarthy, offensive-minded head coach. I think McCarthy, just like what he did in Dallas and I think what he did in Green Bay as well. He is going to look at his roster, know who his best players are. I think he'll be able to diagnose that Muth is one of the better weapons on this offense. I think McCarthy is going to say, hey, we're not going to reinvent the wheel here. Yes, we want to get back to Pittsburgh roots. We want to run the football, be tough in the trenches and all that, build off of that. But also, when we're throwing the ball, number 88, we know what he can do. I think Freiermuth is more capable of than what a Marquez Valdez-Scantling or Roman Wilson or anything like that is. So we're going to get the ball to Freiermuth more. I do like that for Muth. I think he loves that we got an offensive-minded head coach who knows who his top guys are. Also, new offensive coordinator, Brian Angelicchio, comes in, passing game coordinator for the Vikings. Also, tight ends coach. And we saw some excellent tight end play from the Vikings. TJ Hawkinson goes from Detroit to Minnesota. Doesn't miss a beat. Might have gotten even a little bit better than what he was in Detroit. Also, some of their backup tight ends were producing pretty well. Guys that went from, all right, who the hell is this guy, to, okay, seems to be a legit contributor of, 2 or 3 catches on a day for their offense. So, again, offensive coordinator, guy who loves tight ends. Freiermuth can't help but be happy about that, unless like Arthur Smith, for some strange reason, pray that it's not that this doesn't become a thing, unless the new offensive coordinator develops a fascination with like a Jonnu Smith type guy or a Darnell Washington, and Freiermuth can't help but be happy that his OC is a tight end guy. And still, I think another big hire we're waiting out on, even though Angelicchio's the OC and he'll help out with the tight ends, they still need a legit tight ends coach. And Alfredo Roberts, did not mention him in this hypothetical. He's the old tight ends coach who goes out the door. New tight end coach going to come in eventually here. We've heard rumors of Lunda Wells, who's the tight ends coach for the Dallas Cowboys. He's worked with McCarthy before. I think he will be the front runner. If that is the case, let's say Lunda Wells comes in here. He coached Dalton Schultz, who then went to Houston. We just saw him in the Steelers playoff game. And also, after Dalton Schultz leaves, the tight end position did not stop producing there in Dallas. They kept rolling along with Jake Ferguson. I think Luke Schoonmaker, who was a late-round draft pick, developed nicely for them. Some other guys, too. So, tight end, Pat Freiermuth, being happy. I think, yes, he's kind of one of those guys that is going to miss Mike Tomlin and the motivator that he was, but can't help if you're Muth just seeing, all right, offensive-minded head coach who loves throwing to his big, high-paid guys, offensive coordinator with a tight ends background, and a tight ends coach still to come in here that will probably have a track record of developing young tight ends, developing tight ends in general. I think Muth is going to be over the moon, and he all of a sudden, Pat Freiermuth, if, say, Mike Tomlin was still here, Muth all of a sudden could go, realistically, from a guy who we talk about all offseason as, oh no, is he going to get traded? Is he going to ask for a trade out of here? To now Freiermuth, maybe after 4 years on roster, 5, maybe, I think this will be his 5th season coming up, could be breaking out and having his best season ever. I'm hoping that that's the case for Freiermuth, certainly, just like you there, Dad. Freight Train, offensively, I think we got a huge upgrade in coordinator. Offensively, I like the staff, but not sure about McCarthy calling the plays because it's hard enough to just run the team. I do agree with that last statement there. I would like more of a CEO type of head coach, a guy who hires the right coordinators and lets them do their thing. It does, I think, seem like a tough thing to be a head coach overseeing the whole team and call plays offensively. I mean, looking at the 2 head coaches in the Super Bowl right now, doesn't seem like those guys are, have their hand on one side of the ball a whole lot. Vrabel and McDonald, they both seem like CEO types, and they just beat coaches who have their hands invested in offense. The Seahawks, they beat Sean McVay. I believe he calls plays there for the LA Rams. And then Sean Payton, even though he had Jared Stidham, he is all over that offense of the Denver Broncos. So I do agree with that. I would have liked McCarthy to take a more CEO type role, just hire a coordinator and let him do his things. Of course, give your input every now and again. But yeah, I don't feel great about that. There is a tiny queasy feeling in me about that. But I do agree also, defense, huge upgrade in coordinator. Won't say huge, but I will say an upgrade nonetheless. Offensively, though, I do like the staff. Campen coming in with Jari Evans to coach up the offensive line. I like that. Tom Arth being retained as quarterback coach. There are a few guys, running back, wide receiver coach TBD, but do think the offensive staff as a whole is in a better place than what it was to end the season. Some more comments here from you guys trying to catch up on him. Freight Train here. Bet the Roonies have set a budget. Tomlin took up most of it. McCarthy may have taken less, giving more salary to assistant and positional coaches. I mean, I'm not going to say McCarthy left money on the table here to build a staff. I do think he would have taken less money. Let's say he had an offer from another team. I do think he would have taken less money to come coach for his hometown team than he would getting paid more to go to another team there. But hey, just grateful that the money is there now and that we are getting a larger coaching staff, getting with the times and having many more assistants, getting with the times like other teams in the NFL. Concepts here with a question. Any news on Weidl's interview with Minnesota for their GM job? Would be a shame to lose him right before the draft. Do want to make a correction. Maybe I said it wrong yesterday. Weidl was mentioned by, I think, a beat writer for the Vikings yesterday as a GM candidate. Not sure if he had an interview yet or not, or if he's going to get an interview or not. So Weidl, again, do want him to stay on board. Minnesota does have a fascination, I guess, with ex-Steelers guys. They got Brian Flores. They stole Gerald Alexander from us. It would be a gut punch for them to take Andy Weidl away from us. But it seems like, they got a interim who's going to go through the draft and all that. Not sure if how that's going to affect their GM search. But Andy Weidl, he's been up for a handful of GM jobs yet until he is confirmed to take one. I'm going to believe he's staying in Pittsburgh in the meantime. Freight Train here. More eyes means we shouldn't be out schemed like the past. Tomlin was a control freak, CEO type head coach. Was a control freak. I won't say Tomlin was a CEO type. He was heavily involved with the defense. A CEO is, I got my two coordinators. I'm going to here and there chime in, but let them do their things. OC should be a huge upgrade. Love that he brought in actual assistant head coach. Some moves I love. McCarthy, I'm not sure what sort of rap he gets with his clock management and game management stuff. So I assume it's more, skeptical than it is, hey, he knows how to, coach up late game situations. But having an assistant coach like that, maybe a guy every now and again, hey, it might be a good time to take a timeout here or something like that. I do love that is now on the coaching staff. That is for sure. Freight Train here. Running backs coach was the only position I saw any players say they wanted back besides Danny Smith. Big kids losing Danny Smith. Yeah, Danny Smith, I think, will be the coach you miss the most here. Eddie Faulkner, a close second. Faulkner, for what he got from Jaylen Warren, going from undrafted to RB1, getting a payday, bringing in Kenneth Gainwell on a 1-year, $2 million deal, maybe even less than that, and he turns into the team MVP. Massive kudos to Eddie Faulkner. It's going to be a shame needing to root against him now as he coaches with the Baltimore Ravens. Truth here, hope McCarthy works out, but still not impressed with these coaches or him. Yeah, it's all new people, but are they good? Or pretty much the same as Tomlin? That's what we just went through in this hypothetical truth. There are some that are pretty much the same guy. Some of the new staff that are slightly better than the old staff. Some of the old staff that are better than the new staff here. I mean, right now the big thing McCarthy's got going for him and his new coaching staff is that it is a larger staff and larger input, larger group of voices and input and ideas. I think gives you a better shot of, not being prepared for things here, of not being unprepared, I should say. But there are some coaches that you are definitely going to miss. I will not act like that isn't a thing. Concepts here. Do like the increase in staff overall, coordinators and coaches. Freight train, they didn't use Jonnu Smith correctly, and his production was bad because of it. But I can't see keeping him here with Muth and Mount Washington. Yeah, one of those guys is going to go. It's going to be Jonnu, unless Freiermuth once out. As a matter of fact, even if Freiermuth were for some reason to still ask for a trade this offseason, I still don't see any reason in keeping Jonnu Smith. I mean, yeah, you gave him an extension, but you got to let him go or at least restructure that contract. Marquez Valdez Smith, you meant. Yeah, I did mean that. Concepts. Forgot about Marquez Valdez Smith. Clay Lewis here. What's up? How are we? What's up? How are you? Happy? How are you? Happy Thursday. Doing good. Doing good. Life is cold, or life is good, except for more cold is coming to my neck of the woods. Another snowstorm coming here. So excited to deal with that there. Clay, you and THP. Not sure if THP has been in here tonight. Judging by your picture there, Dallas Cowboys fan. So what's up with us getting Cowboys fans here on the channel? Old rivals coming here to the channel. Wasn't known for being great in great time, out replay, etc. Yeah, hopefully, like we've been saying, larger coaching staff, assistant head coach, and all that. Hopefully, he's able to keep McCarthy on the straight and narrow there, and get in his ear every once in a while to make better decisions like that in game. In the words of Pat McAfee, Eddie Faulkner is a sellout and a stooge. Joking, of course, seemed like a great coach. Even play caller in 2023. Did give him that shout out when I made him a winner in the old versus new head or coaching staff. Faulkner was decent play caller there in 2023. But I mean, hey, he's going to go where the money is. I don't blame him. Now he's going to coach Derrick Henry. Do not like that one bit. 7 of you in here right now on this here Thursday night. Gonna real quick, we'll get back into football, and I'm sure you guys will keep the football topics rolling in the comment section. Do real quick, want to keep things moving here. We got roughly half an hour until puck drop between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Buffalo Sabres. Want to get to the final top story to talk about here, and then we'll get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news. Changing gears over to baseball, the Pittsburgh Pirates, this mixed match of an offseason they are having, it continues after, slow start to, hey, jubilation, Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn, to now it continues to decline downward and downward. The Pirates have been oddly mentioned so much this offseason for top free agents. Started with Kyle Schwarber, then developed into Kazuma Okamoto, most recently Eugenio Suarez before he signed with the division rival Cincinnati Reds. And then yesterday, we spent a good chunk of time talking about the Pirates and their all of a sudden aggressive interest in left-handed pitcher Framber Valdez. Thought, hey, maybe the Bucs are going to, instead of getting another bat, just continue to add to a strength that they already have and go out and get the best left-handed pitcher out on the market. Instead, in record time, a Pirates rumor of interest for a free agent blows up and the free agent goes off the board last night, about 8 hours after the Buccos reported interest from Ken Rosenthal in Framber Valdez emerged. Valdez signs a 3-year, $115 million contract for the 32-year-old left-hander of the Houston Astros, the largest contract ever given out to a left-handed pitcher. And just like that, this best offseason, not going to lie, the best offseason that we've seen from the Pirates in quite some time. You sign a multi-year free agent in O'Hearn. You trade for an all-star second baseman in Brandon Lau. You keep most of your roster from last year intact. You didn't exile a Mitch Keller or Joey Bart yet. I will put yet. Still think those guys will be here, or at least Keller will be. But yeah, this best that we've seen in years off season for the Bucs. It continues to turn sour and sour because it's starting to get fatiguing seeing the Bucs linked to all of these top free agents. Like I said, started with Schwarber. A few days, maybe a week or so after Schwarber was being rumored with interest for the Pirates, he stays in Philly. Then Kazuma Okamoto, that was a couple week thing. And then he gets scooped up out of nowhere by the big market Toronto Blue Jays. Then another few weeks to a month goes by, and Suarez, Eugenio Suarez, felt like a perfect fit for the Bucs, you know, contract-wise and everything, to play third base. He gets scooped up by your division rival in the Cincinnati Reds on a cheap deal. And now Valdez, this one was unlikely, but still, you know, with the offseason the Bucs are having, maybe they were going to say, screw it finally, and just throw the bag at someone to make this bridesmaid, but always the bridesmaid, never the bride scenario come to an end. But nope, 8 hours is all those dreams had to live. And now Valdez goes to the, what some are saying the Pittsburgh Pirates should be of the American League in the Detroit Tigers. Seems like now for sure that the Pirates are being used as, you know, contract talk progressors in this free agent cycle, not for themselves, but for other teams. Feels like now more and more that once the Pirates are said to have interest in a guy, that is a ploy being used by agents to say, hey, look, Pirates are interested in this guy. You better up your offer and get a deal done with my guy before the Pirates scoop in, even though the Pirates are not really all that serious contenders. So it sucks. Even in one of the better off seasons you've seen from the Bucs in a while, they still somehow find a way to make it so damn depressing. Just once, I pray for the Pirates to be linked to a free agent, have it a significant free agent too. You know, a guy who is a franchise direction changer. Just for once, I'd like for the Bucs to be linked to one of those guys, interested in, and it actually pan out. But not today, not yet. Probably not this offseason anymore. Not too many big fish left out there. Speaking of the Bucs, just some other things going on with them. Of course, just like yesterday, signing Mike Clevenger, the Bucs, even though they missed out on Framber Valdez, they went and added a former Houston Astros pitcher, right-hander Jose Urquidy. Today signed a 1-year, $1.5 million deal with the Buccos. That is first reported by Will Salmon of The Athletic. Urquidy, 30 years old, past 2 seasons, has been dealing with elbow issues, pitched just 2 1/3 innings pitched over the past 2 seasons due to those elbow injuries. Sported a 7 ERA in those 2 1/3 innings. For that, though, you know, COVID era, 2021, 2022, played all right, 3.81 ERA. But hopefully now that he is in the Berg and you got new pitching coach Bill Murphy here, he has Urquidy does ties to him. Maybe he reclaims some of his old form. In the meantime, we are coming closer and closer to pitchers and catchers reporting for spring training, who the Bucs could add before spring training kicks off. We shall wait and see. Jason Mackey of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, which will soon cease to exist, today on 93.7 The Fan. Give out a few names who could be who the Bucs could be in on. Mentioned that a reunion with Andrew McCutchen is still possible. Said that the Bucs are going to be in on some of the third basemen from the New York Mets who are getting pushed out by free agents acquired this offseason. Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty. Did mention another left-handed starting pitcher. I think he mentioned Jose Quintana by name to be in addition to the Bucs bullpen. Seems like all guys at this point. There won't be any sort of major addition. There won't be a trade of, for like Isaac Paredes or an Alec Boehm. There won't be a signing of a Marcell Ozuna, big power right-handed bat. Instead, it's going to be bringing in a guy like a Vientos, which I do like. Hopefully, they are able to get a trade for a guy like that done and then run it back one last season with Andrew McCutchen. Bring back for one more go around the track with Jose Quintana, and hope that the additions of Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn, with hopefully the improvements of O'Neal Cruz and Brian Reynolds and other guys, eventually the debut of Connor Griffin. Hopefully those things will be able to take the Pirates from are they really a playoff contender to, yeah, they are a playoff contender. We'll see, though. Not holding my breath quite yet. Now that the Bucs have missed out on all these big names of them being a super serious playoff contender, but hoping they prove me wrong. All right, ladies and gentlemen, back to the comment section here for one comment from Freight Train, starting to believe that the Pirates rumors of being in on these players are fake. Yeah, like I just said, I'm sure the Pirates did have interest in those players, but their offers, maybe they were the same as what these teams agreed to, but sounds like agents using the Pirates to get more money for their clients, and I'm sure the players still view the Bucs, even though they added O'Hearn and Lau, as a not serious when it comes to contending organization like what the Tigers, who made the playoffs last year, like what the Blue Jays are, the Phillies, the Reds, who made the playoffs last year, squeaked in. Maybe the Pirates could be the Reds this upcoming season, but still would have liked them to land at least one big guy this offseason. Guess we're going to need to settle for Brandon Lau and Ryan O'Hearn being those guys. That's going to get into the extra Pittsburgh sports news here in a moment. Buzz through that really, really quickly here. Real quick, a stroll here through Twitter, seeing if we have any new information before we continue on here. Seeing some stuff posted here from the Pittsburgh Penguins. Looks like the players arriving at the arena. Tons and tons going on with the Penguins today. Not good. Injuries doing them in even more. We'll get to that here in one moment. See, is there anything else here? Seeing more NFL overseas games get announced. Melbourne, Australia is going to host the LA Rams and San Francisco 49ers next year. There's Darius Swinton being hired to the Steelers coaching staff, that being confirmed again. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into it. The extra Pittsburgh sports news here for today, Thursday, February 5th. Like I just was talking about there briefly, the Pittsburgh Penguins pregame going on here to my right. Puck drop going to be coming up here in about 20 minutes between the Sabres and the Pens. The final game for these teams before the Olympic break. Opening ceremonies for the Olympics is tomorrow. I'm sure some players from both of these squads are going to be getting on private jets and whatnot, flying over to Milan, Italy after tonight's game. The Pens taking on the surging Buffalo Sabres, who have gone from the basement to one of the hottest teams in the Eastern Conference. And they tonight, the Sabres are going to be taking on a Penguins team that is not only reeling from back-to-back painful losses and reeling still off the loss of defenseman Chris Letang, who broke his foot, but even more injuries hitting the Penguins this morning. You had Rickard Rakell this morning in the morning skate, left early with a lower body injury. He will not play tonight and is day-to-day, according to head coach Dan Muse. That is absolutely rotten for the Penguins and rotten for Rakell, too. I mean, this guy is supposed to go over to Italy and represent Team Sweden. Hopefully, this injury does not affect his participation in the Olympics. But the Penguins, are they going to have their full, offensive line here for more than just a game or two? You just have Brian Rust, who came back from the 3-game BS suspension, and now Rakell goes down. So some more line shuffling from Dan Muse. Even more so, Noel Acciari with an illness. He this morning was labeled as a game-time decision. I just saw from Seth Rorabaugh that Acciari was not on the ice for pregame warmups. So it looks like Acciari will not play tonight, and neither will Blake Lizotte. He is actually the lone Penguins absentee that comes with a good reason. Lizotte back in Pittsburgh, expecting the birth of his first child with his wife, so congratulations to him. But just like that, all of a sudden, Penguins, hey, maybe they can shake off those last 2 losses that were both bad in their unique ways. They get a win here, go into the Olympic break, needing the break, but go in on a win. All of a sudden gets that much harder when, just like that, unexpectedly, 3 of your forwards, one of your top line wingers, and then 2/3 of your outstanding fourth line, just like that, they will not play tonight. So Penguins are going to need to overcome adversity in a big way tonight. They did call up forward Avery Hayes from Wilkes-Barre, Scranton. Hayes, 31 games in Wilkes this season, 23 points, had a nice preseason, if I remember, where he was maybe one of those guys. Do you put him on the roster? Did he earn a raw NHL spot, or do you put him in the minors? Started the year in the minors. He's going to get a shot in the NHL here tonight. Best of luck to him. Sidney Crosby chiming in on the adversity the Penguins are going to go tonight from their personnel loss standpoint. Said it's a good test, a good challenge for us. I think we're playing great hockey. I feel for the most part we've been pretty good. I thought last game we didn't do a good enough job to close it out, but we gave ourselves an opportunity to win the game. Agreed, Sid. Hopefully the Pens putting together lines on the fly tonight are going to be able to take down this red-hot Sabres team, go into the Olympic break, and then coming out of the Olympic break, you got a few more games in February, and then the gauntlet of March right around the corner begins for the Pens. Maybe the Olympic break will be good for them because hopefully most of the team gets rested aside from the few vets that are going overseas. And you come out of the Olympic breaks, few games in February, March. It's going to be nice to have this team rested. Boston Bruins twice, Vegas Golden Knights twice, Colorado Avalanche, the best team in hockey, twice. Your Metropolitan Division rival, who is leading the division right now. Not sure if you've seen it a few times over here on the ticker next to me. The Carolina Hurricanes 3 times in the month of March. Crazy March ahead for the Penguins. They are going to need this break. Speaking of breaks, has not been a good break recently for Tristan Jarry starting out up there in Edmonton. The last thing about the Penguins today, Jarry, again, a pretty rotten night for him with Edmonton, now getting heckled by the opposing team and his own teammates. Ryan Lomberg of the Calgary Flames in a post-game press conference last night calling Tristan Jarry Swiss cheese after Jarry, I think, let up another at least 5-goal effort. And then Leon Draisaitl of the Edmonton Oilers, the, I guess, Batman number 2 to Connor McDavid, said, I think they're saves that our goalies need to make at some point. So even though Stuart Skinner for the Penguins has been, having a couple of bad games in a row here, least he's not still in that pressure cooker that Tristan Jarry is getting fried alive in, which is Edmonton, Alberta, Canada right now. I'll tell you that much. Moving over back into football, of course, got to start off talking about the Steelers here. I should have started off the show talking about this honestly. Happy 20th anniversary to all you Steelers fans out there for the Steelers Super Bowl 40 victory, the Jerome Bettis game there in Detroit. Steelers win over the Seattle Seahawks. Watching a highlight the Steelers posted today of Antoine Randall L's touchdown pass to Hines Ward in the Super Bowl. Very cool moment there for the Steelers, winning their 5th Lombardi. Speaking of history, that Super Bowl 40 being history for the Steelers, history could be made tonight for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame class being announced at 9 o'clock tonight. And 2 guys we will be looking for to see if they get in. The first, the big one here, will L.C. Greenwood, 35 years. Since he was first a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, could he finally get into Canton tonight in the seniors category? He's got a good chance of it with Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft not being on the finalist ballot. Could L.C. Greenwood get in tonight? We are certainly hope so. The most underrated and underappreciated guy on that Steel Curtain defense. He needs to get in to honor that legacy and help fill out the immortality of that Steel Curtain. Also, in the modern day category, new Steelers assistant offensive line coach Jari Evans. He is a finalist on the, I think, modern era ballot for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Evans does have some company on this ballot. Drew Brees, Eli Manning, Larry Fitzgerald, Reggie Wayne, Darren Woodson, Jason Witten, Marshall Yonda as a fellow offensive lineman, Kevin Williams, Terrell Suggs. So we'll see if Evans is able to get in here as a finalist tonight. We'll definitely be looking out for that, and we'll come back here tomorrow and talk about if either of those 2 men, Greenwood or Evans, get into the Hall. Speaking of Greenwood, by the way, how about Tony Dungy going to bat for L.C. Greenwood, saying he was a special player and a special man, ripping the Pro Football Hall of Fame voting process for Greenwood still not being in the Hall yet. Moving over to a new topic here from one old coach in Tony Dungy to the Steelers' old coach Mike Tomlin. Been not much on Mike Tomlin since he stepped down as Steelers head coach. I believe the last thing we talked about Tomlin, you go back 2 weeks or so, he was spotted at his daughter's gymnastic event down at the University of Georgia. Since then, Tomlin off the radar, out of sight, out of mind. We did get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain today on the Jim Rome show. Jay Glazer, who is the right-hand man to Mike Tomlin in the media world, he gave us a little bit peek behind the curtain for Mike Tomlin and why he stepped down. Didn't know that it was like that. Glazer did confirm that Tomlin told him and Rondé Barber before last season began that it would be Tomlin's last season, that he would be stepping down after the fact. Glazer, Barber, and Tomlin all kept it tight amongst themselves, and I'm sure Tomlin's family, who would not say a thing, but Glazer saying that Tomlin was, no matter how the season ended this past year, he was going to step down. Also said that Tomlin feels like he's done coaching for good. There will be no return to the sideline for Tomlin, and judging by Tomlin just, going off the grid here, per se, it doesn't seem like a media future is for him either. So who would have thought Mike Tomlin, the charismatic personality he is, he could be, I won't say, going completely off the grid here, but not going to be in the football light like what we would have initially thought of his post-coaching career. But just thought that was very revealing. Jay Glazer revealing that Tomlin was going to step down this year no matter what. Puts a new light, I'll tell you that much, in the Steelers going all in last offseason, getting Aaron Rodgers, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, DK Metcalf, those types of things. Speaking of Tomlin, one of his old coaches, Carl Dunbar, Steelers defensive line coach, told you we'd be mentioning him again. He did find new employment yesterday. The New York Jets hired him yesterday evening as their new D-line coach. So Dunbar, pretty much, the success and prestige of the Jets franchise, much different than the Steelers, but still not much of a downgrade in personnel there for Carl Dunbar. He goes from coaching Cam Hayward to now he's going to be coaching Quinnen Williams and Will McDonald and a good rest of the set of pass rushers that the Jets have. Last few things here on the Steelers for tonight. The NCAA denied the waiver appeal for a sixth college eligibility season for Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss, so he will officially enter the draft. I will admit, Fernando Mendoza, he's going 1 overall. Don't really have that much interest in any other quarterbacks this cycle. Chambliss does intrigue me a little bit to where I'd be okay if the Steelers took a flyer on him in the third round. Won't say a second round here, but third round, you could talk me into giving Chambliss a shot, putting him in a competition with Will Howard. We'll see if he does get a chance to be drafted by the Steelers. Vice President of the Steelers, Dan Rooney, today, going to take over for Art one day. He joined Steelers beat writer Alan Saunders today on his show, said that Steelers are expecting north of 500,000 people, at nearly 500,000 coming to the North Shore for the Pittsburgh draft in April. So Pittsburgh going to be packed. Western Pennsylvania going to be the hub of football and then some. Wrapping up here today, ladies and gentlemen, with some extra Pittsburgh Pirates news. In addition to missing out on Framber Valdez yesterday, the Pirates, or some Pirates fans, were linking former Bucco Miguel Andujar back to Pittsburgh as a potential, Band-Aid at third base or the outfield, but that is not an option either anymore. Andujar last night signing a 1-year, $4 million deal with the San Diego Padres, so he is gone. I want to talk about Tarek Skubal today, ace pitcher for the Detroit Tigers. Why am I mentioning Tarek Skubal? He today won his arbitration case for a historic $32 million salary this upcoming season. Why this matters is that Paul Skeens here coming up will start to hit his arbitration years for money, and if Skubal, two-time Cy Young winner, going to make $32 million in an arbitration setup, he is Skeens. I mean, I assume he's going to be just as good, if not better, than Tarek Skubal. The Pirates might find themselves in a situation here where they're going to need to pay Paul Skeens $32 million. Should they pay him that much? Absolutely. Will they, though? We know it's Bob Nutting owning the team here. This Skubal thing, I fear, may accelerate the Pirates' decision-making on whether they are going to, try to keep Skeens and just keep him here for till he fully hits free agency, or if they're going to trade him and get something back for him. Hopefully this lockout coming up in 2027 for baseball fixes some of that, where Skeens will be a Pirate for longer than any of us can hope for here. Last few things on the Pirates today. They did make a signing. Besides Jose Urquidy, they added a young prospect, Dominican infielder, Yondris Santos, 16 years old, but this guy is a absolute freak. 6'2", athletic, lean as all hell, comes with outstanding tools and skills to his game already at 16 years old. Bucs might have gotten a diamond in the rough with that international prospect signing. And the last thing on the Bucs here today, congratulations to Spencer Horwitz. We mentioned yesterday Gregory Soto and Dennis Santana going to represent their country of the Dominican Republic in the World Baseball Classic. Spencer Horwitz yesterday as well confirmed his participation in the World Baseball Classic. He will be suiting up for Team Israel. He last played in the World Baseball Classic for Israel in 2023. Now, 3 years later in 2026, he will represent Israel again. Congratulations to Spencer Horwitz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I believe we are T-minus 5 minutes away from puck drop here tonight between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Buffalo Sabres. Real quick, wrapping up tonight's live stream, it does seem like the Penguins have their starting lineup out. Avery Hayes will indeed make his NHL debut. The line shuffling with all of the absences for the Penguins. Sidney Crosby will center Brian Rust and Anthony Mantha. Tommy Novak, Igor Chinikov, Evgeny Malkin. That second line remains untouched. Ben Kindle gets 2 new line mates, Justin Brazeau and Connor Dewar. I believe Brazeau was back on his game, was back on his line last game, but before that, Brazeau was filling in for Rust during his suspension. And then the fourth line tonight, Kevin Hayes back into the lineup with 2 youngsters, Rutger McGroarty and Avery Hayes making his NHL debut. Parker Wotherspoon, Erik Karlsson, the top defense pairing. Brett Kulak, Ryan Shea II, Ilya Solovyov, and Connor Clifton. Clifton facing his old team tonight. The third pairing, Arturs Shilovs in net for the Penguins. And hopefully they're able, like I said, to get a win tonight, go into the Olympic break on a high note. I believe that is going to do it tonight, ladies and gentlemen, for the live stream. I appreciate you all stopping by on stream for an hour and a half. Again, this was fun. We talked about a lot. Final comments here from Truth here regarding tonight's Hall of Fame induction ceremony as a part of NFL honors. LC needs to get in. Hines should also be in, and James Harrison definitely. Hines and James not making the finalist process of the Hall of Fame, but definitely someday they do deserve to be in there. LC, though, got to get him in tonight. He will probably not have any greater of an opportunity than tonight to get in this voting process and committee for the Pro Football Hall of Fame that has taken tons of scrutiny for this class. They better do right. Get LC Greenwood in there. He deserves it. Tomlin would fail wherever he goes because he is overrated, says Truth. Not going to count Tomlin out of anything. Did his time come here and run its course in Pittsburgh? Absolutely. But would I, say he's going to fail with whatever he does left in his life? I'm not going to say that. But it doesn't sound like it's going to be anything related to football, at least for the next little while, according to Jay Glazer. That'll do it tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, want to appreciate you again for stopping by here on this Thursday night. Back here tomorrow for a Friday live stream. We will have more to talk about. We'll talk about this Penguins game as they head into the Olympic break. We'll talk about the Pro Football Hall of Fame, see if Jari Evans and LC Greenwood made it. We'll see if the Pittsburgh Pirates do anything or if the Steelers make any new hires, which I am not going to count that out one single bit. So it's going to wrap it up tonight. On your way out, one last time, if you're new here, subscribe to the channel. Turn on notifications so that you never miss a thing here on the channel. Again, like this live stream, share this live stream so we can continue growing viewership here on the channel, and go leave a comment after the fact. Anything that you think of later on, leave it in the comment section. I'll get back to you there. Go give the channel a follow at Steel City SR on Facebook, Instagram, and X, and tune back in later tonight for SCSR 60. Thank you all. Have a good rest of your Thursday night. Thank you, Freight Train, for the kind comment. Back here tomorrow, talking about more in Pittsburgh sports. See you back here tomorrow. Have a good Thursday night. Peace.